Hi, beautiful souls. My name is Vanessa, and I'm happy you're here. So today's topic is, are we being pushed into a new era? If you're new, hit that like, subscribe. If you're returning, thank you for being back, okay? I appreciate y'all, each and every one of y'all. All right, so there's a lot going on in our world. It was just Nolan Will's birthday yesterday. Happy birthday, Nolan. I hope you all are sending prayers and love and light for his family. They are definitely a group of chosen ones, Nolan included. And because of what's going on with Nolan's passing, tragic passing, and people wanting answers, people demanding answers, it is bringing the world into an uproar, and it's starting with a divide. And a lot of this to me is systemic racism being exposed, a lot of things being pushed under the rug that needs to be faced. I believe I heard it was since May till now, there have been over 22. We're in August. From May of this year till August of 2026. Just this year alone, there's been 22 lynchings. And I have to say it like that because, and I don't even know if I can say that on YT, but they're ruling these out as suicide. But yet this is happening at heights where firefighter trucks are having to get put up to remove the bodies. And these are all Black people. We are going through a collective crisis right now. And is this us being pushed into a new era? Are we being demanded to step into a new era within self, within the collective, within creating a whole new world? A lot of the old systems that were in place are no longer sustainable. We have shifted from the patriarchal era into the age of Aquarii. Okay, we are currently in the age of Aquarius. And it's a very different energy. It is an energy that is much more fluid. It is visible. It is transparent. It is not these confining constructs that we have built our society upon that is, again, no longer sustainable. When I got my master's degree in resilient leadership, it focused primarily on sustainability and social justice. And I was fortunate to be in a cohort with 10 powerhouses. All of us were our own powerhouses in our own right. And we would demand very influential people that would come to speak to us. Robin DiAngelo is one of them. We had to read White Fragility. And I got my master's degree in 2020 is when I completed my program. So this was right before George Floyd. And at this point, we were at that time asking, well, what is the future of leadership? How is the future collective going to be sustainable? How do we make change? I had a powerful moment the other day when I was walking down the street, and where I stay, there's a lot of different socioeconomic walks of life here. And these two guys, one was white, one was Black. It was really beautiful and symbolic. They were walking right past me, and as they were walking past me, they had a boom box on their bike, and the song started playing, and it was like boom, boom, it just started. And that was the wrong beat, by the way, y'all. Don't mind me. But it was a beat about to drop the song, and the song was Tupac, I See No Changes, And it was the song Changes. And I'm like, man, I remember hearing that song when I was 12 years old, and I was in a predominantly white school, and something in my soul knew what that song was talking about. And to see this now in 2026, and it's still evident, it still resonates, is truly a shame. We ought to be ashamed of ourselves. We have no right and audacity to not evolve as a species. Why are we not evolving? Why? Granted, I'm sure there's evolution happening at various stages, of course, naturally so, yes. And there are people trying to make changes, yes. But we need this to shift on a collective level. There needs to be a new era. It's not sustainable. Sorry, with all that's going on. I remember this year, I don't even want to talk about it but no, let me talk about it. I remember this year when I first heard about the inchings, I'm just going to call it inchings, okay? Someone was like, yeah, Vanessa, have you heard that this has been going on in Florida and they're just finding people, like Black people hanging from trees left and right? And I was like, what? I remember hearing that. I was like, what? Like, something in my mind didn't want to register that click. that was really what was going on. But the more we deny it and the more we turn our heads to what's happening, and, you know, like we've always been doing, push everything under the rug. How long has that been working out for us? It don't work. It's like, you know, it's interesting. Collectively, what's happening and how I can view like a lot of what's happening collectively as trauma, being exposed, being felt, being dealt with or not dealt with, is a lot like what happens in our systemic family dynamics, where there's dysfunctionality, where it's common to sweep things under the rug. And not saying that every family has dysfunction, but there are no perfect families. And usually there is something going on in every family dynamic. And usually people, what do? Push it under the rug. This happens in workplaces. This happens in all groups of living organisms, other than animals in nature, right? They seem to have it together. Us humans, on the other hand, we're not only backpedaling, it's like, how are we actually choosing to evolve here? We're very smart people, sometimes too smart for our own good. Sorry, I'm trying to read my notes. Hold on. Our relationship dynamics, our identity dynamics, how we navigate life in these dynamics, they are not going to sustain us into the future. Something has got to give, something has got to change. If not, we're just all insane. Like Einstein says, you cannot keep doing the same thing expecting a different result. That is insanity. What I will say, and a little bit about what I will share intuitively that I've been getting, is that we are our ancestors' babies, Black, white, Chinese, Asian, whatever ethnicity we are. Okay, knowing we all come from the motherland, we are all our ancestors' babies. And a lot of us have to be the ones, if we're living in this era, millennials, Gen Zs, Gen Xs, even baby boomers, we have to look at ourselves and see, how am I going to break the generational wounds? How am I going to break the generational trauma? That's what being alive in this time is asking us to do if we want to bring about a new era, and really sit with, well, what does that actually look like? A lot of what's happening with the racial divide, for example, is stemming from people's ancestors' backs. I mean, it's not a mystery. That's where a lot of this is coming from. I mean, look at what's happening in Mississippi present time. But what I will say is, despite all the ancestral BS that's not wanting to be dealt with, there is this interesting air of people not being able to hide anymore. We are in this age of Aquarius and we are demanding transparency. I was listening to this really great talk from Carl Jung. I'd like to say Carl Jung, J-U-N-G. He was talking about how, well, the talk was basically explaining his theory that empaths are finally going to be on top because, as we all know, narcissists are attracted to empaths. And that's not going to fly anymore. Why? Basically, this discussion was stating that empaths are too intuitive and they can read a whole room. So the minute a narcissist walks in, for example, empaths are now able to call its bluff, especially having gone through experiences with narcs. It's easier to decode. And I was sharing this with somebody, what I heard him like, because he was really sweet. And I was like, yeah, it's the time for us empaths. Da, 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 da. He's like, no, narcissists still run it. I mean, look at the president. And I'm like, okay, and who respects him? Who? MAGA? I mean, he couldn't, when I asked him who respects him, he said, nobody. I mean, we saw all the jokes going around, all the viral videos of him. Those get me floored every time, side note, but yeah. So we see that these narcs are not being respected. Look at, again, case in point, Mississippi, where it happens to be the chosen state, the chosen geographical location where uproar and upheaval and ancestral strife, okay, is showing up in modern day. it's interesting because the collective, the general population, the people of the world are not buying the bluff. They're not buying the BS for the majority. You have those that are scallywags, okay? You do have scallywags that are just, you know, dormant to the BS and oblivious, okay? They're just riding out their ancestral duty. They're not trying to be the chosen generational curse breaker. You get my drift? So there is a lot happening ancestrally. There is a lot happening spiritually, collectively, and all of this is needed as we usher in this new era. A lot of this is stuff that we are having to look at primarily first within ourselves to be like, okay, I'm not standing for that. I'm going to speak out. I'm going to go with the collective consensus and say something about this doesn't seem right, regardless of the official standing that's taken a hand, regardless of politics and people in power and official statements being released. People are not buying the BS, especially with the history, like the history that Mississippi has, the ancestral history. And it's a really beautiful opportunity right now for people of all backgrounds, Black and whites, to come together. It's a really beautiful opportunity right now for people to say, you know what? Let's do things differently. Let's change this narrative. Let's speak out despite what officials are stating. Let's demand more. Because what they're doing, and to me, a lot of it is narcissistic traits. Okay, it's like, oh, let's lie and let's be cunning and let's paint this narrative, and you know, the empaths are going to believe us. It doesn't work anymore. As that Carl Jung video was stating, that it's just not going to fly. So again, there's this great opportune time for this. I'm going to grab some cards. So as you all know, I am a reader as well. I do mediumship readings, etc. I'm a shaman, and this is where my gift resides, is what people tell me. So with that being said, there is a need for you to, I'm getting collective, to look within yourself and what your gifts are. Maybe it's speaking, maybe it's writing, maybe it's coming together with folks, bringing people together, organizing. Maybe it's being an advocate, an ally. And with great power comes great responsibility. So you are being asked to see what responsibility are you being asked to step into at this time. I do like that we are entering the stage of transparency. I think that is a way to be sustainable. I really do. And I was saying this when I was in the Resilient Leadership program I was in. That was one of my big arguments that I would say throughout: justice. Yes, we're starting right off with justice. The spirit of justice does not play. Libra season is around the corner as well. So that is one thing I was very keen on, is that transparency is something that will allow people to be sustainable, just off of how our society, I can speak of America because that's where I lived my whole life, has not been the most transparent place when it comes to businesses, capitalism, all of it, right? How people are in general. It's like, where's the authenticity? Where is the transparency? Now, if you want to be sustainable, you definitely want to incorporate that. So I feel like collectively we're being asked individually first, how are you going to show up to help cultivate this new world era? Now, I love that Justice came out. She is blindfolded, okay? So there is a lot that we may not see, which makes sense. It's stepping into the unknown. We've never walked this territory before. We've only known what we've known, hence why people keep doing all that they've known. People just carrying out their ancestral duties, their ancestral lives. It's just in their DNA. It's like, no, change that. It's not cool, but justice will be served. Something about your perspective. There is something called to shift your perspective. You're being called to shift your perspective. We cannot keep thinking the same way we've been thinking. Hater is showing up on the bottom. We cannot keep living in hate as well. There's a need to cultivate more love just in your day-to-day. Not only in the sense of giving love, but also being able to cultivate the act of receiving love. with the people in power at this time, just in general, there's a lot of narcissism. And so it can be difficult to tap into that energy of love. But it's like, how can you be the difference? Spirit, what is your guidance and message? Okay, this card just flew. What card is this? Okay, money, get to the bag. There's something about, this card does speak about independence as well. There is something about you finding your strength and personal autonomy, personal power. Did I say strength already? Personal strength. Personal strength. Finding ways that you can, again, step into your power so that you can fulfill your responsibility and duties in this life. It's a lot bigger than just, oh, I want to be this singer or this production manager, whatever your goals are in life. It's a lot bigger. What are we collectively being asked to release, Spirit? What are we being collectively asked to release? There is something about releasing the energy of greed, dominance, maybe capitalism. Not saying capitalism is bad. Everybody has their own belief around that. I think it's something about shifting, again, perspective and how we've been doing certain things. Because if it's not working, switch it up. What are we collectively being asked to release, Spirit? Wow. Oh my God, moving on showed up. Okay, so we are being asked to move on from the way things have been done. Clarify this moving on. Some of you are being asked to leave, relocate. If you live in a, let's say a very southern state, red state, whatever, you're being asked to go somewhere where you feel like you'll actually be able to thrive and let your gifts shine. Starseed is showing up. So I'm speaking to people that are starseeds. You came in here knowing, if you found this video, I'm most likely talking to a starseed. You never felt normal. You never felt like you could relate to everybody. You felt like the black sheep. Starseeds have a huge purpose on this planet. A lot of starseeds are not even from this planet. Okay, that's a whole other story, but it does intertwine. I was just on the way to recording this, I was thinking, like, we as humans are so arrogant, thinking we're the only species in the galaxies, in the universe, that are entitled, and we don't know it all. I'm not super big on aliens knowledge or research. I don't have a lot of that well versed in my knowledge, okay? But I do know that BC, lots of records indicate that people were drawing in Egypt, etc., what looked like artificial intelligence. And a lot of them stated that they came here to this realm to teach humans how to think higher. And I think we would benefit as we shift into this, how do we create a new era? I think we would all benefit in opening our minds, expanding our minds, doing things differently, again, shifting our perspective. Okay, so we are being asked to release, could be what I was just saying, release our perspective. The old perspective ain't working. It don't work. It does not work, okay? Clearly, this is what we get. More of this. And if you saw my last video, I was talking about how I gave a talk to kids in a school, and I was telling them, hey, like, 'cause a lot of them came from like family dynamics that were pretty racist, and they were teaching these kids, oh, don't trust black people, etc., etc. It's not cool to think like that. So if you're like indoctrined in some kind of cult, sanction, whatever it is, and you think like, oh, you guys are better than others, like, that's not cool. Okay, so that's what we're being asked to release. What are we moving toward, Spirit? What are we moving toward? Their Spirit is showing me the word transparency. So again, this theme of being transparent, I'm hearing the word audacious as well. So being bold, being audacious, being vulnerable. That was one of the biggest things I learned. I keep talking about my master's degree program, but it was really phenomenal, and I'm very grateful for the experience. But one of the biggest things I learned was, because I transformed a lot during that program, was by allowing oneself to be vulnerable is how a lot of transformation can come forward. And I think us, as we are shifting into this new era, I think that is something that could be a great pillar as we figure out how to be sustainable, is allowing ourselves to be vulnerable. You know, not often are people telling the truth. I mean, again, with Mississippi, case in point, who is telling the truth? Anybody? Sirens are going off. That is a sign, an omen, if you will, of an emergency, of something very significant being stated. What are we moving towards, Spirit? Okay, so we are moving towards interesting energy. We're moving towards shifting the dynamic, and I don't take this as men, like gender. I take this more as patriarchal symbolism. Rich guy. Opposition. We are moving towards facing and confronting the rich man opposition narrative. Okay, the constructs and powers that be, which is predominantly masculine. Even if it's a female, it's backed by powerful men, usually. So I don't want to get too political in what I'm connecting with, the energy that I'm connecting with spirit. However, we are moving towards confronting that energy head on. Okay, so interesting. I'm like, I don't want to talk about it, but that's what spirit is saying, is to confront that energy. That is what we're moving towards. And the approach doesn't have to be in this patriarchal approach, because again, that's not working anymore. It could be being in a more fluid, more flexible, even more divine feminine approach. But that is what we're moving towards. Rich guy and the opposition that's tied to this energy. And it's not inherent, you know, this opposing energy is not inherent to the capitalistic mindset. It's almost like, how do we do that differently? How do we keep collective minds in mind more? If that makes sense. Okay, so that's what we're moving towards. I'm gonna pull one more. Yeah, let me go here. What else are we moving towards, spirit, collectively? What else are we moving towards, spirit, collectively? Manifestation. Okay. So we're being pulled towards manifesting more. Now, I will say this card hasn't shown up, but it keeps popping out its head. Concern. There are people concerned. I feel like these people in collective energy that are in positions of power are fighting on for dear life because they know that their time is up. They know. Again, it's no longer sustainable, if you get my drift. So anyway, we're being called to move towards what we want to manifest. So the ball is in our court. Okay, when it comes to how are we being pushed into this new era? We are being pushed into this new era through, for one, facing the opposition head on. Okay, in a divine feminine approach, in a very grounded and centered approach, but also manifesting. That is how we move forward, manifesting the world we want to form and create. Everything that exists started from the mind, from a thought, from an idea. And then just a few more questions. I'm being called to go here, so let me just go here. This is a very different energy kind of deck, but let's see. Actually, no, I'm being called to go here. Hold on. Oh, it's right here. What are people misunderstanding about this transition, spirit? That's a good one. What are people misunderstanding about this transition? And then I'll go to the deeper deck for guidance. What are people misunderstanding? Or maybe I'll go there now. Yeah. Something about your intuition. And that's what I'm going to talk about in the end, or maybe now. I feel like collectively, a lot of us are being called to tap more into our intuition. The reason why we're entering an era where people can no longer hide and where transparency is being demanded to the point where it's going to have to be the norm in order to be sustainable collectively is because people cannot hide. People cannot hide anymore. One of the reasons why Mississippi and Nolan Wells' case has reached the level that it has for awareness is because people are too intuitively inclined to see what's really happening underneath what's being told. collectively our frequency is rising. Okay, so I don't know if you've heard of like 3D, like we're in 3D, but we're collectively moving to 5D, a higher frequency, a higher dimension. So with that being said, people are not dumb. We're not living in the 80s anymore where you can just feed us like a bag of chips and say, oh, this is so good for you, and it's filled with like toxins. Like intuitively our bodies will feel like, okay, this is not good for me if I keep eating this every day, right? So that's just an analogy there, but we are becoming more intuitive. What are people misunderstanding about this transition? In a trance, this card just kind of flipped out. In a trance, lost in a trance of emotions, feelings you'll never forget, profound feelings, mind-blowing experience. We are in an extremely evolutional phase right now. That is one thing I'll say, because there's too much that's not feeling right within the collective where change is inevitable. Hopefully, right? Hopefully enough people can do their part and step into their power and fulfill their responsibility to actually bring change. Like the Tupac song, I see no changes. Like, hopefully we can start. Hopefully we can evolve. Like, I'm almost embarrassed at our species, really. Like, why are we not further along? Like, shouldn't we be? Anyway, what are people misunderstanding about this transition? The staff, take stock of the situation before making a decision. Okay, so this is a shamanic oracle deck. It says stand firm, spiritual power, wait. So there is a need to assess. There is a need to take a step back. And like I said, really sit with self and ask yourself first, what is your purpose? What are you going to do? What do you have the power to do? What are you no longer going to stand for? How are you individually going to choose to change? Differences, what this is beautiful. I love spirit. Okay, I love the divine, the most high, source, creator, universe, whatever you want to call God. He, she, okay. Differences. You can learn from people who are different from you. Cultural, age, conflict, opposites attract. This is really beautiful energy. I'm getting this energy of black and whites coming together, people of different religious backgrounds coming together. We need to get to this place where we can evolve from I'm better than you and you're less than me. Like, again, where is that coming from? It's not truth. It's not. Okay, so then I just have like one or two more questions left. How can we navigate it individually? How can we navigate this spirit individually? I'm being called to go here. Spirit, how can we navigate these changes, these positive changes into this new era individually? Okay, take action. This card flipped out. Take action. We are powerful beings. That's why I don't understand why we're not further evolved. Take action. And the King of Wands, this is more of a masculine energy. It's very fiery. It's very confident. This is an energy of when somebody knows what they want to do, they're not going to let anything get in their way. This is, I want it, I got it. I'm going to go get it. Okay. So you are being called to do that after assessing. And then the final question is, what should we remember right now? I was just prompted to read something I wrote above that said we are being asked to heal generational wounds. So that is something to take from this. If you take nothing else from this video, please take that. And one of the best ways I have found to heal generational wounds is to start with the self. We can't change what they did. We can't change what curses were put on our bloodline, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, however you want to say it. But what you can do is you can take your 2 feet and walk forward in a new path. You can choose to be different. You can choose to do things different. And that is how you rewire the narrative and heal generational wounds. What should we remember right now? So that is one thing we should remember. Okay. What is one thing we should remember right now? I was also getting something else. So strength is coming up. Remember you're strong. Okay, remember you're strong. You are a strong soul. You are a very, very strong soul. This card on the bottom talks about boundaries. It's the only queen with a weapon. She's fierce. This is a don't play with me. I'm not here to let you play with me energy, okay? Great boundaries. I will say Queen of Swords has excellent boundaries. So you're being asked to do all of that individually. And the note that I'll end it on is tap more into your spirituality. I tell all my clients during my sessions, by the way, you can book me for personal one-on-one guidance sessions. I do intuitive readings and mediumship, but I always tell clients, especially like the ones that are pretty tapped in intuitively, I always say your intuition is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. The less you use it, excuse my language, but effed up things happen every single time. Every time. Never fails. But I am getting to really harness your own spiritual practice, whether it be rituals, lighting candles. I am feeling called to maybe do a video on that. We'll see. Yeah. Start praying more. Now especially, we need it. We all need it. There's too much going on collectively in our world. Pray more. Tap into your own spirituality. Listen to your intuition. And yeah, that's all for now, folks. Thank you so much for watching. Hit that like, subscribe. Also, check out my book that I wrote called Believe in Your Soul. You can find it on Amazon by Vanessa, Believe in Your Soul by Vanessa. And my last name is Lemestre. My last name is super long, but I'll put the link below. I'll put my info below if you want to book me for one-on-one. And also check out my website, Sacred Ceramique, where I do make handmade pottery that you can actually use in rituals, morning tea. Let's say like for your morning tea, you want to have a mindfulness moment with self, slow mornings. You can get my cups there. Or if you want to honor your ancestors, that is also a really great way. Last thing I'll say about this message is as we're healing generational wounds and ancestral wounds, Spirit is prompting me to tell y'all to listen to your passion. Let me hide this because YouTube is, listen to your passion. Okay, that is tied to your purpose in this life. And there's ways you could bring about change in doing so. But also, oh my gosh, I forgot what I was going to say. No. Just be y'all. Be y'all authentic selves. What was it? I was talking about praying, intuition. Yeah, tap into y'all ancestral ties. Connect with your ancestors, y'all. Connect with them. I never thought about it like this, but Spirit is prompting me to say to forgive them. We all got ancestors that were good and bad. Okay? Forgive them and connect with them because they will help you. They will help you usher in your purpose in this life. We are our ancestors' wildest dreams. They could only wish they could come and be here during this time to right their wrongs, to do better, to live out their dreams. So tap in with them. They're going to help a lot of us rise. I feel like truly our collective would shift drastically if we all gave homage, reverence, and tapped in and connected with our ancestors. All right, y'all, take care. Hit that like, subscribe. I was so happy to be here with y'all. Peace and love. Bye.